This is a truly surreal and truly special moment for me as a collector. I loved Transformers when I was a little fella, and Optimus Prime always just spoke to me. He was good. He's what you should be when you're good. And as a teenager, stumbling across the existence of Transformers Armada is what brought me back to the franchise in a really big way, and has led to kind of, I don't know, a lifelong obsession. An involvement with Transformers that I can't imagine ever not being deep in this franchise. So I am super, super excited to be able to bring you this figure and have things come like full circle like this. I think I was 17, it was the last day of school of year 12, and I bought Armada Overload to celebrate the end of high school. And then the next day I found myself going back to Toys R Us, and I picked up another couple, and another couple. And suddenly, I'm collecting Transformers. So for Hasbro to have, finally recognized just how important the Unicron Trilogy is to a whole, I guess, third generation of collectors is really special. I'm very grateful to be able to have this figure in my life. So, without further ado, look at the size of it, would you? This vehicle mode does not muck around. He is bringing the exact same energy, the larger-than-life, power-bustin' Prime that was the original Armada version. What a great use of Commander class. Oh, roly. Look at that turning circle. I could do this all goddamn day. It's just such a ridiculous vehicle mode, isn't it? There's nothing really robots in disguise about this. That's one of the things that I really like about Armada. Like, there were some that went for, a pretty good approximation of what passes as an Earth vehicle. But then you've got Optimus, who was like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the gist, right? This is sort of what a truck looks like. And I feel like he's right, If you saw this truck driving down the road, you'd be like, man, that's a strange looking truck. And you might take a photo and send it to one of your friends who's a truck enthusiast. But you're not automatically jumping to alien leader from another world, are you? What is more OP OTT than having tank treads on your trailer? I know it's a little bit of an unfair comparison, but he just absolutely dwarfs Legacy G2 Prime. I guess Laser Prime has him on height, but not on girth, and that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? You were definitely getting bang for your buck with this beast. And remember how big Transformers used to be? Remember what leader class used to mean? They probably don't need to be as big as they were, but it was a wild time. A wild time indeed. I wonder if they'll do a second release in his power-up colours. And would I get it? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I'd get it. Who am I kidding? So to get him into robot mode is fairly intuitive, but it is not without nuance. So first thing, slide these pieces up and out the way. Get that grill, fold it down, click it all in. Fold out the arms, twist to the fister, bring down those almighty lats, clip in the top and the legs. Open these shin panels, fold down the foot, and then clip the shin panel back into the back of the hands for a little stability. Take the wheels, untab them from there, bring them down, and there's a little notch where they'll notch in there. Untab the hip skirts, fold that up and out of the way. You've got yourself one hell of a Prime.
Baby, you got a stew going.
What a fine looking bot. I know there's meant to have been, a slight G1ification with these guys, so maybe he's a little sharper in some of the lines than, the Armada show model or the original figure kind of was, but for the most part, I feel like he's leapt off the screen and into my life. The sculpt is just so crisp and so well finished and fantastically done. Like, look at the fine detail through there, across there, these little bits picked out. Love the black stripes, even inside of those stripes, sculpted. Everywhere you look on this figure is just some really fine, well thought out details. There are virtually no flat or unfinished surfaces. Like if you lift the arm, pivot the arm up, right, that could have just been a nothing burger sort of piece, but instead it's, cyber joiny form bits, right? It's nice. Makes him feel so, real, so resolved. Even like if you, skirt panels, car details, but on the underside, cyber details with Minicon symbols. So much conscious thought and effort, and that goes for all of his skirt panels. The only time you ever actually see them is if you look at them, which I guess is true of a lot of things, but you know what I mean? They're not forward facing. Even inside the wheels, smooth. I'm not talking about sculpting. Even when you extend his foot out, the inside of his ankle tilt is sculpted. And the little gold accents just pop. And anyone who's watched for a while, I'm a big fan of a yellow-eyed Prime, and they even managed to fit in, you know, the odd 5mm port here and there. So if you wanted to, you could armor him up. Seems a little redundant given how armored up he gets anyway. But the option is yours.
The power is yours.
The only thing that hurts it for me the tiniest bit is I would have liked if I couldn't see these screw holes. That is the one deco issue that I have with this bad boy. You know, those 4 screw holes are a constant reminder that he is in fact a toy.
You are a toy!
His articulation is quite good. At first I thought this head was a little more limited than what it actually is, but because of the cut of his helmet, you can actually throw some steeper angles than you might expect to. You get a little bit of like faux flex out of the lats just from where they don't super lock in from transformation, but the hinges are quite deep hinges, so it's not like they're coming undone. He folds up at the shoulder there, which I know some people are not going to like because it's a little unnatural. Arms go all the way around. He's got a real seamless, almost invisible bicep swivel because of where it joins to that colossal shoulder pauldron. Double jointed elbows, so he can get real bendy. And I had expected being, you know, commander class to have articulated hands, but at the very least, there's wrist rotation. His hips are on a real nice, strong, clicky ratchet. Nicely integrated thigh swivel that works with the sculpt. Pretty good bend out of that knee, really. Backwards bend. Ah!
Ah! Ah! Ah!
Maximum ankle tilt. I would have liked if maybe this piece came out to fill it out. I do really appreciate it when there's a little, you know, one of those wedges that fills out the ankle tilt to make it feel a little more natural. And pointy toe, oh, and forward leaning toe. Gotta love that. Allows for some really, really good deep lunging, actiony hero posy shapes. The only thing that he is lacking, which I do understand given all the things he needs to do, is a waist swivel, which is a little bit of a shame, but I can understand how they left that one out. On the whole, I really don't think anyone's going to be disappointed with the shapes that this guy's able to throw. Real heroic.
Such heroic nonsense.
No heroic nonsense here. Accessory-wise, it's a little bit interesting. Like, obviously, these smokestacks, much like the original, can come off, and if you were so inclined, you can use them, you know, as a gun. They don't peg in super deep, but why would you ever hold something that could be wrist mounted and, you know, be just as effective and look cooler? Pew. Also worth noting, they are in fact Blast Effect compatible. Speaking of integrated accessories, this little Autobot badge also comes off. I don't know exactly why. Maybe so we can hand out like merit awards? Well done. I don't understand the reference. I'm ashamed to say. There must be some reason why that is a thing that does, which hopefully someone will tell me in the comments, but it's there. Also, what Optimus Prime figure would be complete without his Autobot matrix of leadership? Something on the original, which was just, you know, embedded and implied, on this one actually comes out. Very different take on the matrix, actually makes it feel quite multiversal. If you want to, you can even go ahead and get a more traditional matrix, chuck it in there, still closes up. And then also what Optimus Prime would be complete without a great honkin' blaster, which again is like reminiscent of his G1 blaster, but you know, with that kind of Armada effect. It's it doesn't mess around. I kind of wish the handle, like I know this is very Armada-y, but I think it would be cooler if the handle had been just a little bit further down. And you know, this beast is also Blast Effect compatible. Cool. By way of a quick comparison, let's first have a look at him alongside a couple of other primal incarnations. So here he is alongside the War for Cybertron Optimus. I thought this guy looked chonk, and then, you know, you peep him alongside this guy and it kind of just looks like he's got a tiny head. And let's also bo peep him alongside G1 Prime. Are you me? No, you're me. Satisfying. That's a satisfying evolution of primal awesomeness. Looking at 3 different incarnations of the same character there, it's really hard to see why so many people have such strong Armada beef. What is not to love about this Optimus? Nothing! Nothing, I say. He is the bomb diggity. Also, while we got him here, let's peep him alongside fellow Armada alumni, Starscream. We were enemies, but now we're friends. And the Bumblebee Hot Rod composite character that is Hotshot. Somehow I'm more annoying than both combined. Again, say what you will about the Unicron Trilogy, but for my money, I feel as though these are some truly iconic designs. Without the Unicron Trilogy, I honestly don't know if the franchise would have had quite the longevity that it's had. And because I can, let's have a look at him alongside the brick that is his original version, and the much smaller but infinitely more dexterous deluxe version that also came out. Man, this deluxe one, this was honestly one of my brother and I's favourite figures coming up. For a long time, I thought this little guy was about as poseable as a Transformer could get. If only we knew what the future held. Big things. And while we're on the subject of big things to come, what do you say we get this trailer back on scene, huh? So we'll go base mode first. Despite it being not particularly impressive and a little bit of an afterthought, it is, you know, halfway to super mode. So why not?
Maybe separate, so we have it.
So we have it, that way we have it. Is that way you have it?
Also worth noting, these bits actually flip down, like stands, so it doesn't fall over. Pretty nifty. Flip it up, flip them out. Push them back, flip it up, crack them out, fold it down, back down, flip that down for some reason, and fold these up for some other reason. Sit that flush. Fold this guy up, fold him back down, fold him in again, twisty. Them out so when you pull them back and slot them in here, you can tab that up the shin, or not shin, as the case may be. Shh, don't tell anyone. Then it also wants you to flip up that piece for, I don't know why. I don't know why it wants that piece up. Then, to really seal the deal, you can plug this gun in this hole. What an exciting extra level of play. This is definitely something I could imagine Optimus doing all the time. If anyone at Hasbro is wondering why Micromasters didn't take off this time around like they did originally and then with the Minicons, this is the answer why. You had nothing to do with them this time around. Look at the multi-level play pantheon that is the original Armada trailer's base mode. It's phenomenal compared to, I don't even know what this is. Conduit? An air duct system pulled from a building? I don't know. Sadness. Sadness is what it is. Admittedly, the sacrifice for all this playability is, you know, any kind of reasonable articulation, but surely there was some kind of satisfactory middle ground. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, getting from here to Robo-Pants is not exceedingly difficult. Get rid of this, fold this confusing nonsense out the way for a moment, get this up, untab all this jazz, legs down, tab those in, fold those back, feet down. We want to twist this guy around, twist this whole sheboygan around, twist this around, keep that up, skirts down, this up. The only part that's a little bit nuanced is getting this to sit as flat as humanly possible. Get it all outstretched, and then you're aiming for these 2 slots to go into these tabs there, and then it's not, you know, too offensive a butt flap. So, to get the monkey voice truck ready for his close-up, you want to flip up the shin panels, fold up the toe, flip it around, close it back up, push the toe back the other way.
Well, if it isn't my old friend, Mr. McGregor, with a leg for an arm and an arm for a leg.
Next, make sure that head's straight, arms up, chest up, pivot out. Ooh. Now you'll see there's a couple little notches there, so you kind of really got to force that head through to sit up properly. On the back, we want to position the arms in a way where they're still more or less doing what you think they should do, but these tabs got to end up in there, so you just kind of got to give it the old bend-aid twisto until they fit. Hey presto. You can see now this is going to slot in there, and this red piece here has some little hooks that are going to tab on to the top of those shoulders. Then fold him up. Those bits at the waist will peg in really quite securely. Bump that red bit up. Then, just like in the show, final thing, head wings out.
We take you now to Kermit the Frog with another fast-breaking news story.
So I feel like a right nugget, but I just noticed while doing the fine cut of my edit that I had mistransformed this waist section. So you're probably going to see a whole bunch of gaps where I didn't fold in these little bits at the bottom. I've caught it. I know the temptation will be to comment and let me know, and I feel terrible about it, but I've just noticed. In my defense, I do have the spicy cough at the moment. And COVID has made me real dumb. So I guess that's how I didn't notice in the first place. But I don't have the time or energy for a reshoot. So apologies. This is what it should look like. That's all. Back to your regularly scheduled program. Is that a goofy looking and rather unprime-like head sculpt? Yes. Are the golden gloves a little bit strange? Most definitely. On the whole, is he quite goofy looking? Well, yes he is. But that, good people, is why we love him. After all this time and all these years, how incredibly satisfying is it to do this? Oh yeah, he's got posable articulated legumes. This is another one of those updates where this modern figure, what we have here, is what you imagined you were playing with when you were younger. This is the Armada Prime of your mind's eye, fully realized in the Plastic Fantastic. Fully articulated and updated for the modern world. So that head is on a ball joint with a great range of up. Do wish he had just a little bit more down, right? When you've got a dude this big, you want him just to be able to loom on people without having to lean down and be like, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you there. But that's not the end of the world. His head pipes are articulated. I like to have them rather than, you know, the full fan out, which, as well as being Wheeljack's thing, I think looks slightly ridiculous. So I always like to have them, you know, tucked back a little bit, give it a little bit more of like Thor's helmet kind of feel. The shoulders pivot up from a really realistic-y shoulder point from there. They also still have the leg articulation inside, so it's like, you know, double shouldery. That's one articulated shoulder. You can even have, you know, a little bit of flair on them if you want. Thigh swivel becomes bicep swivel. Knee becomes elbow, wrist rotation, hand opens, but because you've got this sculpted 5mm port, it honestly feels a little bit redundant. I think it would have been really nice if they'd given him, you know, that modern big boy hand thing of the receding 5mm port, because, you know, it is commander class. I know he's doing a lot, but that would have been nice. Even if it folded down inside his palm and it was something that, rather than being a mechanized automated gimmick, you yourself were responsible for flicking that out. I think that would have been fine. When we get to his kind of hip waist articulation is where I'm really of two minds about things, because he has one of the features that I super hate on Transformers and always have, always will. The apron skirt. Cannot stand the apron skirt. You know, it means when you move your legs, it gets in the way, or you fold it up and then it just looks weird. And this one in particular is quite protrudy, so it really does look like he's wearing an apron. But what that has allowed for is inside of there having some waist swivel. So, you know, it's a tough one. I would have liked it if they handled it as these bits here being the front of those legs, and then this centerpiece being mounted with the swivel just being cut there instead. If this had been treated as like 3 pieces, it would have been so much better. He does have really strong ratcheting legs, which can go all the way out quite far back, if not for this, you know, flappity flap bit. Thigh swivel, 90 knee bend. He then has really good ankle tilt with a pace that fills it out. I really like that. That's what I was talking about before with, you know, the first robot mode. If that's just then at a 45, you don't have any hollowness or empty shapes. That's a feature I love. Apron, I hate. Ankle infills, I love. There's that whole, you know, pod of missiles there ready to go. I think that fills him out at the back nicely. And I gotta admit, this piece isn't as intrusive or egregious as it possibly could have been. I do still think a lot of this area, with how lame the base mode is, has kind of made it a little bit superfluous to need, but whatever. There's definitely, you know, smaller figures that do less with more kibble in a more annoying way. His really big gun is now kind of just a medium-sized gun now, I suppose. This is also the place where if you wanted to, if you take off his smokestacks, there are slots for them to mount on his gun, making it a bigger gun. Super gun.
And that's how, with a few minor adjustments, you can turn a regular gun into 5 guns.
Pow pow. I personally almost like having it mounted backwards more, because I think it makes it seem, you know, like a bigger, chargier. It needs exhaust because it's so hefty. massive cannony gun. And if you don't feel like having that blaster out, tucks away nice and neatly on his back. He's just a really big boy. To have a proper long shot of him, I can barely reach and be behind the camera. Phenomenal. I gotta admit, so far I've been having a fantastic time arming him up with the Star Saber and the Sky Boom shield. That's about as ARMADA as it gets right there. And then, you know, if he's feeling like a little long range action, boom, Requiem blaster on his back. Oh yeah. How you like me now, Unicron? Also, if you really wanted to, you can take a leaf out of Fort Max's book and get him with the shin cannon. Pew pew pew. By way of a primal comparison, let's first have a look at him alongside another multiversal powered prime. Looking at these two together, does it not just super make you hope that we get an Energon Optimus to complete the trifecta? And I tell you what, looking at their super modes together, this is where the update has really done the most heavy lifting. As cool and gimmicky as the original's trailer and stuff was with electronics and automorphin and all that jazz, it's a little bit of a janky nightmare compared to the cohesion of this Commander class edition. And you know, legs. He's got working legs. I think losing a little bit of height is a very small price to pay for the addition of this much articulation. He is just so much more fully realized. I really couldn't be happier with this in terms of an update to the original. For a final comparison, here he is alongside Menasor. I must admit, I did think that they were a little closer in size than what they actually are. I'd been thinking of them as, you know, key legacy rivals, but Prime's gonna have to hope that his skills are a match for Menasor's stature. I feel pretty confident that they are. Whew! Man, this has been a doozy. Thank you so much for bearing with me to this point if you have. If you haven't, then you have no way of knowing of the thanks I gave to the people who did stay. But I digress. This has been a wonderful time. This figure, exceptional. I cannot imagine that he is not going to end up in the top 5 of my top 10 list for this year. I love it. Admittedly, I am a Unicron Trilogy stan, so this is right up my alley, but even if you only had a passing interest in ARMADA, this is still a fantastic toy, and if you happen to be anti-Unicron Trilogy, I think this might bring you around. I really do. It is a very cool toy. I guess I've just got one question left remaining about this figure, and that is, so when are we going to get ARMADA Jetfire and Overload? Imagine the 3 of them combined. Imagine it. So what do we think? Hit me up in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. You gonna get him? Have you managed to get him already? We're real lucky. I think he's like come out pretty close to first in Australia. Way to go, Big W. I want to hear about it. Hit me up in the comments. Let's get nerdy with it. Catch.